So this is the first day of Project Life. I am so grateful to have you come in and really start to take um start to take control of your life because as we know, like life is a process, right? It's not a destination, and along the way there has been some things that has truly probably stopped you from getting ahead, probably has, I don't know, broken your spirit, whatever that is. This project is intended to to address that. Okay. And so the whole idea for Project Life really at its core is just to really help you to really break free, right? Just break free um of any mindsets, any I don't know, cycles of self doubt, overwhelm, frustration, any of those things that's really impeding on like your ability to move forward. And so I just figured, hey, if we just took 30 minutes out our day to see something different, to be open to experience something different, to just add a different way of looking at our life, right? If we do that for a year, for 3 months, for a month, just intentionally, um, just intentionally set this 30 minutes to the side every day to really do something. And I really want this to be a casual conversation. So put a one for me. Um, in the chat if you want it to be a casual conversation too. I'm gonna have my coffee, right? I'm gonna have my coffee. I'm going to have my light. Let me get my light. Uh, and then I'm going to make sure that you leave with one actionable thing that can help you to shift your mindset, build your skill set, and possibly start to take the actions that are like that's required, right, to really take control of your life. Again, at our core, we just want to break free of the limiting beliefs that's keeping you stuck in the cycles of self doubt, procrastination, right? Really cultivated around this idea of love or life, right? What is life? Really building this self love, interactions with others, really developing more healthy relationships, focus, and gaining some clarity and direction, which is gaining some clarity and directions in our emotions, right? Just being able to master our emotions. I always tell people, listen, the relationship that we have to get back in tune with is our emotions. All right. So ultimately, this is just a guide to really help you to stop surviving and start to thrive in 2025 and beyond. So before we get started, just put a thumbs up for me. Okay. So this week, if you follow me on social media in the group, we're talking about stop living in lack. Okay. So we're using the lemons concept, which is the lack of energy, motivation, organizational skills, and necessary supports. And I'm using that framework this month to really help to cultivate some conversations. All right. So it's Monday. Okay. We're on lack. But before we go into that, let's just take a deep breath and let's get present. Okay. So just breathe in. Listen, this is your time. No pressure, right? Just presence. We are at Project Life where we turn theory into practice. Okay, let's take a deep breath on that. The intention is to take theory, which is what we see on social media, what we hear the gurus talk about, and really make it practical to who? To our life, right? And what's practical for me may not be practical for you, and that's okay. All right, that's why we're here to really start to shape and mold a life to our personalities and get out of what other people think and really start thinking about what we think. So before we dive in, I just want you to just drop one word in the chat for me that describe how you're feeling. Okay, no judgment, just awareness, right? Let's move that energy before we set our day. Okay, so what's one word you can drop in the chat? Okay, So this week again, we're talking about lack. Thank you for those words. All right. Where it comes from, right? How it affects us, how it breaks, um, how to break free from it. And then lack this is, I just want to say lack is not just about money or success. It's actually a mindset that tells us that we don't have enough, right? Or that we are not enough. All right. All right. So if we know that in the stopping out framework, the first is about stories. And so that's another thing that throughout the week, the theme, whatever we're talking about on a wider scale, we're gonna break it down right in this stop it type of mentality. So today we're gonna unpack our stories around whatever that belief is. So before we can change our reality, the reason I like to talk about stories is we have to really understand our beliefs, right? About lack and where did it come from? And most of us is not clear about this belief. Um, and so either our grandparents passed it down to us, our mom passed it down to us, just some way this got passed down to us. All right. All right. Um, I just want to say, like, I remember the first most powerful thing I heard about lack was this guy, and he was talking about the Garden of Eden, right? And he talked about how um, he talked about how he talked about how really in the Garden of Eden, um, the first sin was of lack, right? And that was his whole thing. And what was it? It was that Satan made Eve pay attention to the one thing she couldn't have, right? Which was what? To eat of the tree. So out of all the trees that you can eat from, out of all the abundance around you, the first sin was lack in that he took her eye from all of this great, amazing stuff that was happening, everything that she could do, and had her to focus on the one thing that she couldn't have. Right? That's powerful to me. Is that powerful for you? If that's powerful for you, just put powerful in the, because when I heard that, I'm like, wow, how many times do we do that? All right. Now, another disclaimer. I like Bible verses. I like the context of the Bible, not because I'm Christian or Jehovah Witness or anything like that. I just feel like there's so much research done on the Bible. There's so much history in the Bible. It's God inspired. So why not use it to support whatever I'm talking about? Because it is the longest history or one of the longest history documents, right? And so I'm gonna always lead off with some type of Bible verse. And today's verse, right, um, around the power of our stories is this verse, Proverbs 23:7. And I want you to write this down. As someone thinks within himself, so is he. So as a man thinketh, so is he. Right? This passage really speaks to the deep connection between our personal inner thoughts in our outward actions or characters. So in the context, it really highlights the power of thought and self perception in shaping our reality or our life, right? Um, it originated from a Hebrew word for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. And this just suggests um, that what a person thinks privately in his heart, they view themselves as in the world. All right. Okay. I think this is a very powerful telling because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And a lot of us are thinking some things in our heart that is creating the life that we have right now. And we don't even know where that comes from. All right. All right. All right. So we need to start a heart mind connection, right? Where we're really um, changing this narrative, right? Uh, and that's the intention here is to just do that one step at a time. So I want you to think back to a time where you felt like you wasn't enough. I remember um, I was And if you want to join, just let me know so you can share your story. Because again, this is a conversation to really set the tone for today. But I remember I had a coach, and the coach was like, "Are you enough?" And I'm like, "No, absolutely not." Right? I'm in school. With my boys. I'm a mother of three. I'm, working as a therapist, and I got these goals that I'm trying to attain, and I'm falling short. And at that point, I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm not at all enough, right? And so he kept pushing back at me, and I just was like, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, I'm telling you that I'm not enough because there's still more to do. And I argued back and forth with this coach because I just had a belief, right? As a man thinketh, so is he. I had this core belief that I just wasn't enough until these things that I had got checked off, because I had assumed or had a belief that these things, right? The car, the house, the finance, the relationship goals, like those things are the things that equated to enoughness. All right. And because I hadn't tackled all of them, then that equated to my enoughness. Right. And then I don't know. I don't know if I like had an encounter or some type of download that was like, no, because I'm enough, I can attain these things. Right. Because I'm enough already, I can have healthy relationships. I can generate a graceful income. I can, be a good mother to my kids. I can, be married. Like in because I'm enough, I can go out and have those things. So what I want to do today is really help you shift one of those beliefs in your mind. All right. So, I want you to think back to a time where you may not have felt enough, right? Maybe you thought you didn't have enough time, or maybe you wasn't smart enough, or didn't have enough support. And then I want you to ask yourself, where did that thought come from? Where did you learn that from, right? Were you born with that? Probably not. Or did something or someone plant that seed in you? And I know for me and most of my clients, it was a planted seed, right? It was society saying to be successful, which to me equated to enough, to be loved, which to me equated to enough, right? To be sufficient, which was to me enough, right? Then I had to do these things. Okay. And then when I was little, when things were taken from me or I was punished, right? Then I must didn't show up enough, or I must didn't do that good enough, right? So I may have gotten a C on my test and I didn't study enough, right? And so these little micro things end up making me feel on the inside that I wasn't enough. And so I started to thrive, right? I started to strive for this enoughness. All right. So if you want to share, just put it in the chat for me. Just where did you learn it from? And then if you want to come in a conversation, raise your hand so I can let you in and we can have that conversation. Because again, a part of this is interacting, it's coaching. Um, I don't want to just share my stories and my client stories. I want this to be about you. All right. So just know that lack is a learned belief, right? No child is born thinking I don't have enough. Actually, a child is born thinking that they can get everything they want. How do we know that? Because they cry. If they don't have what they want, they're going to cry over and over and over again until you give them what they want, because they feel deserving of your love, of your attention, of food, of whatever, right? So no child is really born thinking that they're not enough. They end up learning that. So somewhere along the way, we have absorbed this belief, whether it's been at family, at school, and society, or personal expectations, that we're not enough. So lack is reinforced through, and then also lack is reinforced through compassion, right? So we live in a world that tells us that we are always behind, right? Even if you got 100,000, it's somebody else that's making 300,000. If you making 300,000 and somebody making 3 million, right? So this thing of comparing, right, back to the Garden of Eden is actually making us feel like even though I'm making it, it's still like not enough, right? And what this results to is a constant cycle of just not enoughness, all right? So listen, the more we focus on what we don't have, the more that reinforces that reality, right? Now, let me ask you, what is one belief about lack that you're still carrying? All right. And where do you think that came from? All right. And I really want you to do this because write it down in your workbook because this is how we're going to shift that. Because here's the truth about it. It's important to avoid focusing on lack because all it does is create a cycle of negativity, limiting our growth and opportunities. All right. So it creates like a negative mindset when I'm always focusing on what I don't have. It perpetuates, right, this victim mentality, focusing too much on what you're missing creates like this victim mentality instead of you feeling empowered to change your circumstances or improve your situation. A lot of times we feel stuck and powerless, right? And this can prevent us from just taking the necessary steps, right? So we want to move from lack to abundance, and we're going to do that together, all right? When we think about lack and we focus on lack, we actually attract more lack, right? So where our attention goes, our energy flows, and what we focus on expands. So if you keep thinking about what you lack, whether it's money, time, success, relationships, whatever that is, your focus will unknowingly keep you attracting that same thing. All right. And we're going to talk about that. Why is that? This is a beautiful mind we have, but it's also a data center and we're feeding it information. And what we want to do is get very precise on the information that we're feeding it. All right. So it can start giving us back exactly what we want to experience. All right. It limits our abundance and our growth, gratitude. It focuses on our shortcomings, and then really why we should not really focus on lack, or the reason why we should focus on lack, is really just to be aware. Okay, that's lack, and then we're going to shift to abundance. So while it's natural to recognize when something is missing or lacking in our life, just stay and focus on what we can grow, perpetuate, what we can grow and perpetuate. We can start feeling some good feelings about that. All right. So what if instead of letting the old story run in your life, you decided to just rewrite it? I wrote that down. So what if focusing on this thing of lack that you wrote down, what if we start to shift that? And what if we chose a new truth? All right. So here are action steps for today. I want you to write down the one belief about lack that you've been carrying. All right. Whatever that is. I don't have enough time to do everything. That's a lack. I can't be everything to everybody. That's lack. All right. Um, I'm not smart enough to start school. I don't have enough skills. Whatever that is, all of that is lack. All right. Next to it, I want you to write down some truths, right, that you are choosing to replace it with. All right. For example, I don't have enough time to focus on myself, right? The new truth would be I create time for what matters because I'm worthy of my own energy, right? You see that? So this lack is just not like I'm not enough. It's I don't know if I'm gonna have enough money to do that. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough time. And I hear this a lot. Like I just don't have enough time. I can't be everything to everybody. All of that is lack, and so we want to change that. All right. So how? So when we change our stories, we actually change how we experience reality. All right. So our action tool for today. Okay. And now I just want to affirm that truth with you together. All right. So I release, and I want you to repeat after me. You can repeat in your mind, or you can take your thing off mute and say it with me. I release the stories that no longer serve me. Mhm. I am rewriting my truth. I am enough and I have enough. All right. Let's say that one more time. I release the stories that no longer serve me. I am rewriting my truth. I am enough and I have enough. All right. If you're walking away with some insight today, just drop me an emoji in the chat, a thumbs up or whatever, because here's the whole goal. Although the conversation is on lack, I really want to set an intention for today. Okay. And here's the intention. I want you to see abundance today. I want you to see abundance in anything, right? I want you to, if it's the clothes, listen, that's running out your basket. That's abundance. That's a lot of clothes. If it's how many socks you got, the shoes in your closet, the coffee grains as you pour the coffee, if you make coffee, how many cars are on the street, how many leaves are on the trees, how many snowflakes it took to cover the ground. I want you to see abundance today, right? And I want you to notice it. That's abundant. If it's how many, strands of hair is on your head, okay? We're going to focus on abundance, right? And we're going to take that into this entire week. So today's lesson, after you write down the one belief about lack that's no longer carrying you, next to it, you're going to write down the truth, right? Because when we change our stories, we change our experiences. So the intention for today is to focus on abundance. Where do I see abundance in my life? All right. And again, if you're walking away with some insight today, just drop me an emoji. Let's celebrate our growth together, you guys. And remember, listen, if you can shape it in your mind, you can absolutely have it in your life. This is just the beginning of rewriting our story. So imagine how much more it's going to be possible when we do some even deeper diving in this Project L.I.F.E experience. All right. I thank you guys for showing up. Make sure you get yourself a hug. Tell yourself you love yourself. I love you. All right. Take a deep breath, get present, and let's get to it. All right. You be well. I'll see you tomorrow. Till later.